We have now addressed the specifics of self-esteem, as well as how to identify these elements in the children we care for. In this next section, we will begin discussing some specific strategies and techniques for developing and growing positive self-esteem in our classrooms. How do we gain a positive self-concept and develop strong self-esteem? How do we help our children to achieve these things as well? Both internal and external variables affect the various elements of self-concept. Most child care experts have observed the effects of these forces. We've all seen children who cope well in a situation, and we've also seen other children quickly become frustrated and discouraged in that same situation. We may have even seen these two opposite reactions from children that live in the same household and are being raised by the same family, leading some experts to suggest that genetics might play a role, but specifically how genetics might fit in has yet to be discovered. One thing is certain: external forces do have a significant impact on the development of self-concept, and this is where we can make a difference. By making sure we are a positive, powerful external force for our preschoolers, we can help our children foster positive self-concepts. With that said, however, it is important to note that no one can give a child self-esteem. It is generated from within. All we can do is make sure our classrooms are positive, nurturing, supportive environments, and model what a strong self-concept looks like. Our preschoolers will then have a better opportunity to develop their own strong sense of self. It is also important to keep in mind that developing children's self-concepts is a long, complicated process. It may take some time to see any changes, so we need to be patient and remain vigilant. We need to trust that the effects of our work will eventually show in the end, and our preschoolers' strong self-concepts will benefit them for the rest of their lives. One of the most important steps we can take to foster a strong, positive sense of self is to consistently treat children with love, respect, and acceptance from the moment they are born. For if this is what they experience regularly, then they will perceive this as normal and grow up expecting it. With babies, one of the most effective ways to convey these things is through the sense of touch. Hold babies, hug them, make them feel safe and secure. These moments spent with very young children will lay the groundwork for a positive self-concept in the future. As children get older, things become a bit trickier. We all know how to express love, but respect and acceptance are different, and all three of these things need to be expressed simultaneously for maximum effect. Let's begin by looking at praise. Most experts now agree that simply praising a child, saying things like, "You draw the best trees," is ineffective. It's not that these types of statements have no value. It's that they really have no value on their own. After all, a strong self-concept ultimately means that one doesn't need outside encouragement to know if something is right. In addition, praise given improperly doesn't work at all. To offer praise properly, make sure that the praise you do offer is authentic and realistic. Over-exaggeration is ineffective. Even small children realize that phrases like "the best ever" and "the most amazing" are not true. And if the children don't feel you are being truthful, then the praise really has no value. Another important thing to remember is to let any praise stand on its own. There's an old adage that says anything that comes before the word "but" is forgotten. I'm not sure if I completely believe that, though the saying does have some merit in this situation. If you wish to praise children, praise them. You've done a good job putting away your toys today. Don't follow it with a correction like, "but you didn't go sit on the carpet when you were done." If this approach is used, the praise is lost and only the correction will be remembered. Instead, try turning the correction into an instruction, like, "Now let's all go sit on the carpet so we can start our next activity." You are correcting them, but it isn't worded that way. Another option is to praise the group for putting away their toys, if they've all done it properly. Then, Only praise those children who have returned to the carpet and ignore the others. You might say, "Johnny, you've done a great job returning to the carpet," and then keep adding names as they return. Most children love to hear their names called for good things, so eventually, all of the children will probably follow Johnny to the carpet. The next step in the praise process is self-praise. This is a crucial skill to develop, so children do not become reliant on the praise of others to judge their level of success. After all, people with high self-esteem don't require the praise of others. They have confidence in their own abilities and believe that they deserve their achievements. I know that we've mentioned this several times already, but it is a crucial aspect of self-esteem. Without the ability to self-praise, high self-esteem is just not possible. It's important to understand that self-praise is not bragging. Self-praise involves evaluating your own situation realistically and comparing your performance to your own past accomplishments. Bragging, on the other hand, is externally focused. It's about proving something and usually requires you to put down someone else in order to raise yourself up. It is a product of low self-esteem. One way to teach self-praise is through modeling, for children learn by imitating adults. The main difficulty with this approach is that modeling self-praise can be very uncomfortable for most adults. We may finish a task and think self-praise silently to ourselves, but actually speaking it out loud is another matter. Most adults don't go around saying things like, "I did a good job with that." Many adults feel self-conscious and awkward doing this. But if we want children to be able to praise themselves, we need to show them the way. Learning to comfortably praise yourself out loud takes practice, but it is worth the time and effort. Now that you are modeling the art of self-praise and are offering appropriate praise to the children regularly, you can encourage them to begin praising themselves. One of the best times to work on this is when you sense a child is seeking praise from you. When this happens, ask the child what he or she thinks. Encourage them to find positive things in their own work, because after all, their self-esteem is based on bettering and pleasing themselves. You have established the practice of properly praising the preschoolers in your classroom, and you have begun to show them the way to praise themselves. So what's next? Learning to honestly value and praise others. As you will recall, self-esteem isn't about putting anyone else down in order to raise yourself up. It's about comparing yourself to your own past performances. It's about valuing you. However, self-esteem isn't about ignoring the achievements of others. People with high self-esteem can recognize their own accomplishments as well as the successes of others around them. If children learn to only center on themselves and their accomplishments, they may become narcissistic, and this is not our goal. Teaching children the art of praising others will help widen their focus and reinforce the idea that the success of others is a positive thing. If you are regularly praising the children in your classroom, you are modeling the proper way to praise others, and you have already begun to show them the way. The next step is to encourage them to praise each other. Watch for moments when you can do this, and ask the children to point out something specific they like about what someone else has done. A skill that should always accompany giving praise is the art of receiving praise properly. This is another area where modeling plays a big role. We need to show children how to do this. This may seem simple, but in practice, that may not be true. Many adults aren't comfortable with simply saying thank you in a gracious way when someone offers them praise. Instead, many of us tend to downplay the compliment, to tell them that they are wrong or that whatever we've accomplished isn't really that special. Remember, when someone offers you praise, children are watching. Show them how to say thank you in an appropriate way. At this point, many of you may be thinking that if you do all of this, your classrooms will turn into a touchy-feely, mushy mess. Additionally, you may be wondering why we are spending so much time focusing on praise, if it isn't successful in its own right. The reason we have spent quite a bit of time addressing praise, successful praise, is because it is very difficult and quite complicated. In practice, however, praise should not constantly inundate your classroom. Instead, appropriate praise should be carefully sprinkled throughout the day. As we all know, teaching any skill is about striking a delicate balance. Children learn through repetition, but too much repetition can actually be counterproductive, causing the children to tune out the idea and sometimes actually see it as tedious or unimportant. The purpose of teaching and using praise in a classroom should be to create a culture, a place where self-esteem can grow and flourish.